Hello once again from the 30-year novice. Just wanted to cover just a real quick section on merging beam tools. I've tried over the years to use a lot of different uh, elements as footings under stem walls, and so for the stem walls, I like to use walls. Uh, what I do find is sometimes if I were to use a wall element as a footing and a wall element as a wall, I can have merge problems if I don't offset the control uh, origin point uh, or reference point or reference line. So what I like to do is use a different element, and beams tools seem to be great. But every once in a while, you end up with a situation, and these are all different beams. You can see this one here is a 3 foot, 1 foot thick by 3 foot long beam. Right now, the point of origin or the origin line is in the middle, or reference line is in the middle, and that's so I can line it up with this post. And then if I look at this one, the reference line is set so that it centers this wall on this beam, and the beam reference line is the outside of wall, which works really good. Pretty typical for how I'm doing this. You can see there's a reference line, there's your reference line, and so I can take those and merge, and they just line up under the beam great. But in this case, I've got a spot footing intersecting these two, and it's a 36 by 36 inch spot footing. It's going to be at the same elevation, which is important uh, if you want to show those as merged, because typically they're going to pour those as merged. But let me show you. So this is kind of what I've got. And in order to be able to do this, the tops have to be at the same elevation, which these are. And you can see this kind of a weird merger there. But it's just the thing with wells. Sometimes they want to take on their own life and stop where they want to stop and start where they want to stop. And it can be challenging. You can use priorities, which sometimes works. A lot of times it doesn't. But moving that back, and then maybe I'll move it back a 16th of an inch so it just doesn't interfere with that, because this is an interior pony wall. Obviously, it would not intersect that. And so, I go to there, and then there it stops. It might automatically intersect later on. I didn't mean to get derailed. Back to the footings. So these are beam tools. You can see the reference line there and the reference line there. And if I look at them in plan, I notice that my reference line for this one's down here. My reference line for this one's here. And so if I want those to merge, I have to move this reference to here. Now in the perpendicular direction with this one, where it's merging onto this, all I have to do is extend this footing to the origin point there and see how it smooths right up. And that's the same thing this one has done, as I've gone to the reference line. Uh, anyway, so and then back to this one. So if I want that to merge with that one, I'm going to have to change some things, namely this point of reference here. I need to bring up to here. So instead of 0, I need to go 2 3/4. So I can select this guy, go up top here, scroll across, and right there, 2 3/4. And you can see it all of a sudden now it changes, but I got to roll it up here. Whoops, I didn't mean to do a copy. Just meant to drag. There we go. So now you can see it's all cleaned up, nice and neat. Occasionally when I move that line, if this one isn't going all the way there, you see it loses its merge point. So that has to be connected. So there's that one. I look at this one. This has already been taken care of, because I can see that this is merged to here, so it looks good. Go down to here. Here's another one. Now I notice when I'm doing this, I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, this is not really centered on that 6.5 and 6. So this really wants to go over 1/4 of an inch. And then in order to get that to merge again, I just have to extend that to the midpoint. And then see, it doesn't really matter that this reference line is over here because it's perpendicular. So, and I'm really just after that appearance. When we got something like this here, that looks fairly well centered. I'm not sure why that wall is so short because a stem wall would usually go almost all the way to the wall. Sometimes if I take this is what I got lost on before, I put it there and it may merge and go right into the wall. There again, it's all about reference lines and offsets. So here I can see that this is not quite centered on that wall. Yeah, I've got 6.5 and 6. So there again, I got to move over 1/4 inch. Doesn't help me out here. In this case, I mean, unless I were to move this to that reference line, these are not going to merge. And that's not typically what they would do. So I'm just going to leave that as is. This is centered where I want it to be. This is where I want it to be. I will have to change this down here to make it work. If you notice, so I've got my reference line here, and if I pull it down to this reference line, it still doesn't merge because it's this beam here stops there, so it doesn't continue across. So in this case, I need to merge with this beam, which means I need to offset this by an additional 1.25 inches. So go back to my settings up here, scroll across. Where am I? There it is. So right now it's at 4, so additional 1.25 inches would be 5.25. Enter. And then of course I have to move that thing over 1.25 inches, and boom, like magic, it trims. Now, chances are in the field they would ignore that 1/4 inch offset and do something else, but I'll let them do that. Now in this case, there's these lines don't merge. So possible fixes. I could do the long way and rotate this and put an additional line here so it comes over. In fact, I'll just show you how that would be done. I'm just going to mirror this point here. Now we notice that all of a sudden now these two don't line up. And so what I'm going to want to do, I don't want to change this reference line because if I do that, I'll mess this up. And so I'm going to change the reference line of this footing, and I'm going to move it to the same reference line as this footing. So in that case, I can measure here, hold down my shift to lock it, and I am 3 7/8 inch off. So this is set to 0. So if I take that guy and go over here to my offset and 3 7/8, whoops, 3 7/8, then I can drag this guy back to there, and that shows up. Now I can take this one and create an additional, let's see, I'm just gonna go to where that hits the line. So you can see it's going to be a little funky at first, and then I want to bring this down here. So we still have this and this issue. This one works perpendicularly. So that's closer, but it looks like I'm still going to have to use a cover fill on this because there's some of these you won't naturally win by using those points. And it's like anything when you do these things. Yeah, these you always kind of create a maintenance issue. As you're doing these things, if I move this footing, all of a sudden now I have to move all these fills. So having it nice and clean can be an advantage, but you just don't win them all. It's just kind of the way it is. So once I got the order, I just like to copy these and bring them down. I'm going to bring this guy over here, and for lack of really winning, I'm going to propose a win of a sort. Now, let me undo all of that. I could have just simply on this too, and we work in an office with I'm going to leave that where it was. Well, let's just go back to the way it was in the beginning because I just want to show you another way to win this. Okay, so that one's all good. Is I could also just take and create a cover fill and mask this entire thing. Um, let's see here. Bring that to the front. And so I can clean it up that way too. The other thing is depending on your office and your standards, you could let those two overlap and let the builder worry about it. But I like to show it how I think it'll look. I try to model to an accuracy that's not necessarily absurd, but but I want to be accurate as much as possible. And so this has a graphic representation. It reads just fine. But anyway, so that's just a quick, very short sample of how to trim beams. Knowing these little tips and tricks can make things easy. And this is something if you're working for someone and they really want these things to look clean, now you know how to at least clean that up without ruining the integrity of your beams. And adjusting just the trim order, and you also know the quick fix on how to get this stuff done. Uh, in an easy fashion. And I suppose you could probably use a mask, which is probably a lot bigger workaround, and a lot of people don't like those. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, and it's probably was worth at least 2 cents. So what a deal for you. Anyway, this is the 30-year novice signing off on this topic. Have a good day.